Giovanni Laudicina is a results-driven and visionary CEO with a decade of executive experience. Born in Italy, Giovanni started his career as a consultant and manager, laying a strong foundation in leadership and expertise. He was instrumental in establishing EasyPark's dominance in the Italian market, and in 2018, he moved to Australia and in Sydney and joined the Duncan Solutions, where he quickly rose to the position of CEO in 2020. Under his leadership, Duncan Solutions has thrived, expanding its market presence and continuing to lead in its sector. Welcome to the Deal Flow, Giovanni.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you very much for having me today.
Thank you for joining me. Look, tell me a little bit about your journey and working in from Italy to Sydney. How's that shaped your career?
Yeah, I mean, it's very, so for me, it's been very interesting part because it brings together probably two sides, which one is the more rational part of me. I'm an engineer, so definitely there is a lot of rationality in me. And when I started to work in the computer engineering sector, I've been working on artificial intelligence as a part of my master's degree. So way before it became so popular. And then, let's say, I've been working as a consultant for many, many companies. Then I met with EasyPark, as you rightly said. There was a startup at the time in Italy. And so it's been a very interesting journey where we led this new product, a new app in the, becoming the market leader. And yeah, it required a lot of sort of changes also in the way I approached the market, because it was, at the beginning, you really need to convince, the customers about, what you're offering. And then when it became popular, of course, you need to sort of sustain the growth. So it's been a very interesting path for me. But in 2018, as you said, I mean, my wife and I thought Italy was no longer the best place to grow our family. And we decided then, after a sort of thorough process, to move to Australia. And it's interesting because when I was 7-8 years old, my parents gave me a geography book, and I started to scroll this book, and then I found out, Mom, when I grow up, I want to live here, and here was Melbourne. So, so a few years later, I won't say how many years later, but let's say a few years later, then that sort of childhood dream became reality. And I'm very glad to be here in Sydney, where I had the opportunity, as you rightly say, to find a completely different world from a number of perspectives, like in terms of market, in terms of multiculturalism, but also in terms of investment and market, which is quite different from Italy.
So tell us a little bit about that. So doing business and working from a startup to an organization that obviously scaled quite quickly through investment and clients, and now coming to Sydney and working with organizations that also there are investments. So the company Duncan Solutions has shareholders, so it's a little bit of a different company in that sense. So can you tell me a little bit about the difference?
Well, in Italy, we have this very common concept of family-owned businesses, right? So you have companies that are founded by someone and then go from generation to generation. Some, you have a lot of very popular brands, like Ferrari is an example, right? That has been founded and go to the following generation. Or even the company I started to work with, it was founded by let's say the founding member, then is now managed by his son. Very common. When I moved with EasyPark, was my first experience working with a company backed by private equity firms. And so I entered into this mechanism, like growing the business and then selling business, which was something completely new for me. And that was a sort of Swedish-based company. Now in Australia, I can see that this same concept is much more mature compared to Italy. And again, and it's the same, let's say, I've seen in Duncan Solutions or in other companies managed by, people like friends of mine. Same thing, they're backed by private investors, who constantly, you know, buy and sell businesses.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me, what do you think, or what is the benefits, you know, of working for an organization like Duncan Solutions, who have a majority shareholder and then have many shareholders that obviously are your first clients in some ways? You know, what is the difference between and the benefits of that?
Well, the difference are many. I mean, in let's say, to a certain extent, you have this life cycle of let's say it could be 3, 5, 6, whatever it takes, where, you know, someone comes, find what are the benefits they can bring to the company, support they can give to the company, probably decide to invest in the company to fuel, could be either innovation, pivoting, growth, whatever it is. And then, excuse me, and then when they have contributed so much, then they pass the baton to the following one, right? It's like a 400 meter run. So they sprint for a while, then pass it to the next one. We will sprint again. And so I think the innovation life cycle and the evolution of the company is much quicker compared to, you know, a company is owned always by the same people.
And is that, obviously they bring resources, they bring management, they bring governance, and a wealth of knowledge, because, you know, you're not the only company that they're investing in. So they're bringing a lot of outside information that, you know, as a sole CEO, you may not have access to that information, you know, without having that board of directors that are involved. But you're saying that it pushes you, that innovation has to be there, that growth is continually have to be there, because, well, that's their goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is very good. I mean, and I actually benefited of this a lot, both in terms of board contribution. So, I mean, for me, it's very good when we have robust discussion within the board, because of course, mean that there is an interest in what we are doing, and an interest in, you know, sort of finding what is the best outcome for the company, not, you know, taking the first idea or the first explanation as good, but like discussing things. This is something I really enjoy. I think this is healthy. But also in terms of management, you know, I mean, we had cases like we've recently appointed a new chief financial officer who came from the Anarchia network, like the previous one, by the way. And and both of them actually brought a lot of you know, experience and knowledge, and really, let's say, helping me, the rest of the executive team, and the broader organization in, you know, in our activities, in developing the strategy, in, you know, challenging each other, which is, again, a good path towards excellence.
Yeah. And I guess because of their involvement, then you're getting to expose to those people that are experienced, that do have the knowledge, rather than starting from scratch and trying to find the right person.
Absolutely.
But it does mean that you're always, or not always, but obviously there's a cycle of investment and handover of investment by different mandates and whatever's in the constitution for the organization that owns the shares. But that does mean that you're always looking at a business exit at some point, you know, in a cycle sort of way. So what does that mean for you as a CEO, if you're always having to be prepared for an exit and new owners to come in?
Yeah, this is well, this is probably the flip side of it, right? That you, let's say, need to constantly be aware of something may happen, and there are, let's say, always ongoing conversation with third parties that are interested into the business, and so you always need to have a strong, let's say, focus on you know, your long-term goal, but at the same time also you need to be mindful of the day-to-day, and making sure that, let's say, everything is working properly, because you need to be ready for you know, due diligence, the presentation, whatever it is, right? So there is a bit of having to look into different directions at the same time. So focus on the long term, but without losing perspective on the short-term results.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is probably it is adds complexity to the role of a CEO compared to, let's say, for example, when you have a sort of family-owned business where you are not distracted in any way by other, conversation. You just focus on delivering what you think is best for the company.
Yeah, definitely. And so so when you compare that to your organization that you worked with in Italy, that was a startup really, to where you are now, I guess that's like Antarctica in between. What do you feel that we could bring from that, I guess, startup VC world into your role today?
Well, I mean, it was a bit different because, of course, I mean, EasyPark was a startup in Italy, but was, let's say, part of a larger group that at the time, by the way, was relatively small compared to what it is today. But yes, I mean, definitely the sort of dynamism that you have in there, and also the involvement that you have with all the aspects of your company is sort of different from when you are in a much more structured organization like I'm in today. So just to give an example, of course, I mean, at the time I was being part of the conversation that EasyPark had with their current owners. Was of course I was involved only when necessary with a little, let's say, explanation about the market, because I was primarily involved in growing the market, developing the market, making sure that we were running as fast as possible. Today is more balanced. I, let's say, work with an exceptional leadership team, so they manage part of the sort of the operation. So I am more focused on the strategy and in supporting the board with and the shareholders. So there is a difference there, definitely.
Definitely. And what would you advise a CEO or a founder right now that's looking at accepting, an injection of capital growth through a PE organization? What would your advice be to them before they take that step?
Well, of course, I mean, this is usually it is a great opportunity, right? Because you have, as I said before, the possibility to access not just capital, but also knowledge, expertise, network.
Yeah.
That is, let's say, whose value is difficult to sort of put in pure financial terms, but there is a value in that, right? So it is, I think it's a fantastic opportunity, but like everything, I wouldn't call it a wedding, but it's probably like you're entering a longer term relationship, right?
Yes.
So you really need to be sure that you're aligned on sort of values, intentions, because then, yeah, that's a partner you're gonna go with for several years.
Yeah.
So this is, but definitely, I feel particularly when it comes to startups, and I have a few friends that work for startups. They concern about the fact that someone may come and dictate the strategy, or there is, of course, the risk, but in reality, the opportunity, based on my experience and the experience of many other people I've met and I've in my network, I think the opportunity is much bigger than this risk in general.
I think a lot of founders call it smart money. We want to be connected to smart money, and I think they don't really realize the level of that could be. And it sounds like that you've really hit the mark in the sense that you've got the resources, an amazing organization that you can tap into to go to your board, to have an experienced executive come to your business.
Yep.
That can replace someone that might be leaving, or for whatever reason there's a transition of a leadership. Having that support, I think, is amazing, because that's a very difficult transition to make if you don't have that support.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
And again, since we're all, let's say, it's your, let's say, shareholders' interests are the same interests as your interests, because as particularly if you're a sort of a founder and an entrepreneur, you have you have a lot of skin in the game, and so you want to make sure that, let's say, who comes with you has the same interests. And this is clearly the same, because if I'm putting money into your company, definitely I want this to grow and develop and make sure that I do whatever I can to grow the company.
Yeah.
And if providing access to my network or to possible customers or executives that can join as either executive director or non-executive director, or even part of the management team. That's phenomenal. And doing the same things by yourself, particularly if you're a small organization, is extremely difficult.
Definitely. And what would your advice be now to when you do have a handover of ownership from your organization, or not just even your organization, just say there's an investor or a PE company out there looking to buy into an organization. What should they be looking for? Like, what are the things that you do that you think stand out, that if you would be an investor or a private equity into another organization, what would you be looking for?
Again, I think, or at least, my experience being that people are key, right? So the financials are there and easy to measure, let's say, the future profitability of a company or things like that. But again, probably people are key to an organization. So making sure that the organization you're buying has good, very valid executive team, a strong team that can deliver the strategy they're putting before you. That's probably the most important. And again, and the other thing is going to be the values. If there is coincidence of values, then of course, everything becomes easier. As I said before, we have from time to time sort of robust discussions at the board level as well as in the executive team. But there are always healthy discussions. They are respectful, and they are meant to, improve the company, improve the way we operate, challenge each other. These are things that you really want to see when buying a business or when you are in a business. You don't want to sort of complacence or, say, yeah, everything is going well and this is going to be BAU for the next 5 years. No, this is not the spirit of...
With family businesses that are run from generation to generation, they can often lose that drive, that innovation, that new information that comes in when you're exposed to these sorts of organizations.
If to a certain extent, and again, this is the concept we started with. It's a matter of sprinting, right? So if you are a sprinter, you are probably not best placed to win a marathon yourself. But if you are a marathon runner, you're probably not the best sprinter ever. So either. So that's why, for example, when you have a sequence of sprints, and so you change, then you pass the baton to the next one and the next one and the next one, the overall result would be better because everybody outperform the rest of the market for a short period of time, and then again and again and again.
Yeah.
Compared to more like long-standing ownership of the company.
Yeah, I get it. And so what would you, actually I was going to ask you, what's more important, innovation or processes in growing? But I'm guessing it's probably a mixture of both. But what's your thoughts on that? Because it does sound like you're being pushed to be innovative, but then, along comes growth with processes and keeping your business in line in that sense. So what do you think is more important?
Well, this is a very tricky question. So for me, like I'm, again, as I said, I'm an engineer. So for me, innovation, technology, these are all, let's say, my bread and butter. This is something I really love, and I keep pushing for these things. So of course, this is, for example, why I really love to have a strong executive team and people I work with. A bit more process oriented, because in order to fuel as long as the organization grows, then it needs more processes and to manage the day-by-day activities, because otherwise you become the bottleneck for everything. If everything needs to come to you all the time, then you're the bottleneck. And so this is why it's important to have processes in place. But since I'm probably not the most, let's say, process-oriented person, I have some, of course, a lot of structure, but I prefer to have a team which is very well structured, can manage all these activities. While, let's say, I probably push more for innovation and bringing new things into the market. So just to give an example, I mean, we've been working a lot with, so we've developed the first EV charging parking meter. So our company manufactures parking solutions. We deliver parking meters, application for payment, application for infringement. We've developed the first ever EV charging parking meter, which is here in Sydney in the Rocks. So it's a parking meter where you can park your car and also charge it. And this is, again, was something that did not exist in the market.
Yeah.
And we created it. But then all the sort of technical ramification of this, okay, how can we engineer, how can make it work? But that required an effort of the engineering team. They've established all the things, all the details of it, which I'm not across.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm probably trying to say.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess that those innovations are what helped you to grow the business.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And we had a lot of customers that are happy about, some of the technology or the platform that we've brought them, because they've helped solve a lot of problems. There is, let's say, I think about Bayside in Victoria, which recently deployed all our, new parking solution or permit solution similar to the City of Perth. We had the Lord Mayor of Perth, I mean, recording a video promoting, let's say, the new machines that be put in the city, which is phenomenal because it doesn't happen every day that Lord Mayor of such a big city becomes your first ambassador, let's say.
That's awesome. That's really great.
Yeah, it is.
That's good. Well, I think you're doing amazing things, and I'd love to keep following your journey. And we do get to keep following your journey because you are coming to speak at CapTech in November.
Can't wait for it.
Tuesday the 26th. And I'd love to hear from you. Why do you think the people or audience should come and participate in CapTech?
Oh, I think it's going to be an amazing experience because you're going to have the opportunity to listen for a lot of experience from different people, to connect with a lot of people from the executive CEOs and also, let's say, investors. So I think it's going to be a great opportunity, really unmissable.
Fantastic. And what are you hoping to get out of CapTech?
Again, likewise, I'm hoping to sort of share some of my experience, to listen from some others' experience. I'm always curious to know what other executives, other investors are doing, what they're thinking, and to connect with them. Yeah.
Wonderful. Great. Well, thank you, Giovanni, for sharing your insights and experience today. To our listeners, stay tuned for the next episode of Deal Flow, and don't forget to join SIPBN and participate in our upcoming networking events to connect and grow your business.
And thank you, Sarah, for having me today, and goodbye to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.